He called 911 to save his 4-year-old sister. But the chest compressions he was counting out loud? Completely fake. Because he'd already stabbed her an hour earlier. The 911 call came in at 11:42 p.m. on February 4th, 2007. A 13-year-old boy named Paris Bennett told the operator that his 4-year-old sister, Ella, was not breathing. The operator instructed him to perform CPR immediately. Paris began to count chest compressions over the phone. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But something was wrong. The rhythm was too slow. The pressure sounded fake. When police and paramedics arrived minutes later, they found Ella face down on the floor. There was no evidence that anyone had touched her. No displaced clothing, no handprints, no attempt at rescue. Paris had been pretending the entire time. He knew his sister was already dead. She had been attacked hours earlier, while the 2 children were home alone. The call was not a cry for help, it was a performance. And the boy giving that performance was hiding a secret that would force his own mother to question every memory she had of raising him. The operator had pleaded with Paris to try harder. He ignored her. He let a dying 4-year-old lie on the floor while he acted out the role of a frightened older brother. Before that night, the Bennett family looked like a story of love overcoming hardship. Charity Lee Bennett raised her son Paris alone after the boy's father suffered a psychological breakdown before Paris was even born. Charity worked 2 jobs, but she poured everything into her child. Paris was gifted with an IQ of 141. He excelled in school. Teachers adored him. To Charity, he was the perfect son. Then, on April 12, 2002, Ella was born. Charity remembered placing the newborn in Paris's arms. He looked down at his little sister, smiled, and said, "Oh, Mama, she's beautiful." From that moment, the 2 siblings became inseparable. Ella wanted to do everything Paris did. He picked out her clothes every day. He watched over her while she slept. To anyone observing, they were best friends. But there were quiet differences. Ella was lively and social. Paris was introverted, often reading or drawing alone. Charity saw these as personality traits, not warnings. She worked double shifts as a waitress to support her family, including on Super Bowl Sunday 2007. That was the night she hired a babysitter. She had no idea what her son was about to do. The evening of February 4th, 2007, started normally. Charity was working a double shift at a sports bar, packed with Super Bowl customers. She had hired a babysitter to watch Paris and Ella. Around 10:30 p.m., Paris pulled the babysitter aside. He told her that their mother was coming home early. He said he was old enough to watch Ella alone until she arrived. Both statements were lies. The babysitter left. Paris and Ella were alone. What happened next is not described in graphic detail in court records, but the evidence tells a clear story. Paris attacked his 4-year-old sister inside their own home. He used a knife. The injuries were severe. And then he did nothing. For almost an hour and a half, he did not call for help. He did not try to save her. He waited until 11:42 p.m. to dial 911. During that time, Ella lay dying on the floor. Paris sat somewhere in the house, choosing exactly when to place that call. When the operator answered, he turned on tears and panic. He sounded helpless. The operator believed him. She walked him through CPR. He pretended to follow along. By then, it was already far too late. Paris knew that. He let her plead anyway. While Paris was on the phone with 911, Charity was still at work. Around midnight, police officers walked into the sports bar and asked for her by name. They pulled her into the manager's office. One officer said, "Your daughter has been hurt." Charity later recalled screaming, "You need to take me to Ella now." Police escorted her home. When they arrived, the house was blocked off with caution tape. News trucks, neighbors, and dozens of officers filled the street. Charity saw the scene and knew something terrible had happened. She begged the detectives to tell her the truth. They did. Ella was dead. Charity watched as her daughter's body was carried out in a body bag. The bag was zipped up to Ella's chin. Blood came from the little girl's mouth. Charity collapsed on the front lawn, screaming that she was sorry she had not been there. Then she remembered her son. "Where is Paris?" she asked. The officers told her Paris was safe at the police station. For one moment, she felt relief. She got into a police car and headed to see him. But on the way, something felt off, a coldness she could not explain. She would understand that coldness very soon. Charity walked into the interrogation room at the police station. Paris stood at the far end. She ran to him, hugged him tightly, and cried into his shoulder. Then she realized he was not hugging her back. His arms hung at his sides. His face was blank. Charity later described that moment as the first time everything stopped making sense. She looked at her son and said, "I don't believe you anymore. I think you killed your sister on purpose." The boy who had been crying on the 911 call changed instantly. He no longer had to keep up the act. He looked at his mother and laughed. Then he said, Y'all are so fucking stupid. Charity felt like she was watching a stranger emerge from inside her son. The quiet, gifted, loving big brother was gone. In his place was someone cold, calculating, and completely unbothered by what he had done. The court ordered a psychological evaluation. Paris was given the psychopathy checklist, youth version. The results came back with a diagnosis that would forever change how Charity saw her child. He was a sociopath. Looking back, there had been small signs, but no one had connected them. Charity's horror was deepened by something from her own childhood. 30 years earlier, when she was 6 years old, her family had been torn apart by murder. Her parents, James and Kyla, ran a trucking empire worth billions. Their marriage was volatile. They divorced, then surprisingly remarried in Las Vegas on March 9, 1980. 2 days later, on March 11th, James was found dead in their family home. He had been shot 3 times, in the head, the heart, and the back. Suspicion fell on Charity's mother, Kyla. After the remarriage, Kyla's name was put back in James's will. Rumors spread that she had paid $50,000 for a contract killing. Kyla admitted she had asked about hiring someone, but claimed it was only out of curiosity. The trial lasted 11 days. The verdict, not guilty. The killer was never found. The weapon never recovered. But everyone believed Charity's own mother got away with murder. Charity grew up with kids at school taunting her. "I hear your mommy killed your daddy." At home, her mother was distant, drinking and using drugs. Charity fought to escape that past, earning a university degree in family development psychology. But on the night of Ella's death, history felt like it was repeating itself. The trial began less than a month after Ella's murder. Paris Bennett pleaded guilty to capital murder in juvenile court. The prosecution pushed for the maximum sentence. Charity found herself torn between her 2 children. When she spoke to the district attorney, she had to be Ella's mother, demanding justice for her daughter. When she spoke to the defense attorney, she had to be Paris's mother, advocating for her living child. She later said that trying to hold both roles at the same time brought her close to insanity. She could not choose sides because both children were hers. In the courtroom, she sat in the middle, refusing to abandon either memory or reality. Deep inside, she knew she could not bring Ella back, but she also knew she could not abandon Paris completely. She made a choice that many mothers would find impossible. She decided to love him in a new way, not by trying to save him from justice, but by making sure he faced it and received psychiatric help. As she put it later, "I was not trying to get Paris off. I wanted to get Paris help." On August 15, 2007, the judge sentenced Paris to 40 years, the maximum for a juvenile. Paris Bennett is now in his 30s. He remains incarcerated in the Texas prison system. His earliest possible release date is 2047, when he will be in his late 40s. Prison reports describe him as highly intelligent, manipulative, and still showing no remorse for killing his sister. He has reportedly tried to manipulate prison staff and other inmates. Charity continues to visit him. She has not abandoned her son, even after everything. She made him a promise the night of the murder, that she would always love him no matter what, and that she would always try to be his mother. She has kept that promise, visiting him regularly for more than 15 years, but she has also kept a second promise, the one she made to Ella. The night her daughter died, Charity whispered that something meaningful would come out of this tragedy. She founded the Ella Foundation to prevent violence by sharing their family's story. She speaks publicly about children's mental health, about the warning signs she missed, and about the failure of the system to provide help for children like Paris before they hurt someone. The Ella Foundation has become Charity Bennett's life work. She travels to schools, prisons, and mental health conferences, telling the story of her family without sugarcoating the horror. She advocates for better access to psychiatric evaluations for children who show signs of detachment or cruelty. She argues that Paris's high IQ and ability to hide his true nature allowed him to fool everyone for years. Charity also speaks about forgiveness, not as forgetting what happened, but as choosing to move forward without letting the crime destroy her. She has publicly forgiven Paris for killing Ella, but she has also said she will never be comfortable with that forgiveness. It is a daily choice. She has also worked to repair her relationship with her own mother, Kyla, the woman who was acquitted of murdering Charity's father. That relationship remains complicated, but Charity decided to stop the cycle of violence and estrangement. She once said in an interview, "You're right that it will never bring Ella back, but it does keep Ella alive. I can't change Paris today, but maybe by doing this, I can help change somebody else's child." Ella Bennett was 4 years old when her brother took her life. She wanted to be a singer. She had a loud voice and a bright laugh that could fill a room. Her funeral was held at a local church in Abilene, Texas, on February 10, 2007. Family, friends, and community members gathered to say goodbye to a little girl gone far too soon. Charity sat in the front row, holding a small pink dress that Ella had loved. Paris was not there. He was already in juvenile detention, awaiting trial. In the years since, Charity has kept Ella's memory alive through the foundation. Every year on February 4th, she lights a candle and posts a photo of Ella on social media. She writes the same caption each time, "Still singing, baby girl." The case remains one of the most disturbing true crime stories involving a juvenile offender, not only because of what Paris did, but because of how calculated it was. He planned the murder. He lied to the babysitter. He faked the 911 call. And he laughed at his mother when she confronted him. Charity's courage has turned that tragedy into a mission to save other children.